The village of Dalton is more than $3.5 million in the hole. Mayor Tiffany Henyard is accused of misusing money, and today she's nowhere to be found.
Handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about it, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
You're not going to answer how taxpayer dollars are being spent? That seems odd.
I just answered it. What do you mean? I just answered your question.
You said you wouldn't answer about Las Vegas.
The controversy surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard is heating up, as federal authorities have purportedly unearthed evidence proving she was actually involved in laundering and squandering public monies. Tiffany, the embattled mayor of a Chicago suburb who proudly calls herself the super mayor, is now under the scrutiny of a criminal investigation. Just last April, an FBI agent served subpoenas to Henyard at the Thornton Township Hall, demanding a wealth of business records and financial reports. Tiffany has been accused of using taxpayer money for her personal gain, including funding a police security detail and indulging in X. Could this newly discovered evidence be the key to ultimately sending Tiffany to jail? What exactly is the evidence against her? Let's dig in and find out.
You do not work Kiki's phone. So stop playing these silly games with board of trustees and putting people's lives in jail.
Do what you want. But anything after this is insubordination.
I'm gonna remember this. Because at the end of the day, I told you, you guys don't run it today, the mayor does.
In the latest chapter, Louis Lacey, the deputy police chief and a close confidant of the controversial mayor T.I. Henyard, has been charged with federal crimes. Lacey, who's been a steadfast supporter of Henyard since she became mayor in 2021, now faces a count indictment. The charges include bankruptcy fraud, with accusations that he schemed to hide assets and income to deceive creditors and avoid paying a settlement from an old lawsuit. However, Lacey's lawyer claims that these charges are more about pressuring him to flip on Mayor Henyard, who's been at the center of relentless controversy. Henyard's tenure in office has been anything but easy, and Lacey has been one of her primary allies throughout. His indictment simply adds to the brewing tempest surrounding her administration. Just this week, trustees who have been pushing back against Henyard's leadership put Lille on administrative leave, but it appears he is not ready to walk down quietly. According to reports, he continues to show up at work, despite the board's orders. Some people are now hoping that Lacey might be the final piece of the puzzle in bringing down Mayor Henyard. Their speculation is that he could provide crucial evidence to back up the numerous allegations against her, especially those involving the misuse of public funds. If Lacey decides to cooperate, it could be the turning point that finally deals a significant blow to Henyard's string of lawsuits and proves the claims that she's been using taxpayer money for her own benefit.
The acting police chief of Dalton has been charged with bankruptcy fraud. Louis Lacey is accused of filing misleading statements in his 2019 bankruptcy case. Lacey is a close ally of Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. He's actually the second top aide to Henyard to face federal bankruptcy fraud charges in recent months.
However, Lacey seems to be as hard-headed as they come, remaining fiercely loyal to Henyard despite the mounting pressure. Even his lawyer backed this up, claiming that the feds are only interested in using Lacey to build a criminal case against Mayor Henyard. They're targeting certain people in the village to see who will turn on the mayor. Petty argued Lacey's loyalty to Henyard, much like that of a devoted dog, showed no signs of wavering even as the legal news tightens around him. But here's the plot twist: a new development has surfaced suggesting that the feds might already have their hands on some evidence that could potentially implicate Tiffany. Now, if you missed the whole Mayor Tiffany drama, let me catch you up on this wild ride. It all started when the Board of Trustees had to pick someone to finish the term of the late mayor, Frank Zuccarelli. According to state election laws, the Thornton Township Board had just 60 days to find a replacement. Everyone thought Trustee Joyce Washington, who was the interim supervisor with lots of experience, or Trustee Jerry Jones, might get the job. Even Thornton Township Assessor Cassandra Stawn was in the running, but as politics often go, the board couldn't agree on a single candidate. Then came a surprising twist. Trustee Christopher Gonzalez made a last nomination for Tiffany Henyard just minutes before midnight. Henyard was sworn in as the new mayor. For many in the audience, her name came out of nowhere. but it was later revealed that Tiffany had applied for the position long before it turns out that she was a last resort, the board's final attempt to avoid letting the public decide. Gonzalez admitted he didn't want the decision left to the township electors, so he pushed it for Tiffany at the last moment, hoping the looming deadline would unite the divided board. Once Tiffany was office, her first meeting was pretty routine, where she promised to serve the people with honesty and responsibility. She thanked the board for their trust and vowed to always put the people first. It all seemed smooth until rumors started flying. People close to the former supervisor claimed Tiffany had a personal vendetta against those loyal to Frank, allegedly feeling threatened by those with experience. She quickly began to assert her control. One of Tiffany Henyard's first actions as mayor was to remove Jessica Jones from her position, with trustee Jerry Jones making the motion and trustee Joyce Washington backing it up. The decision was unanimous, even with trustee Christopher Gonzalez, who had nominated Tiffany for the role, giving his approval. Afterward, Tiffany set her sights on Stephanie Weidman, but this time the vote was more contentious, with Gonzalez standing alone in opposition. Stephanie Weidman had a long history with Thornton Township, having started working there in 2002 in various roles, including as a full-time employee and later as a contractor. In June 2021, she was promoted by the late supervisor Frank Zuccarelli to be his executive assistant, with plans to eventually become chief of staff. Whitian explained that she was part of Zuccarelli's transition team, working alongside David Jerry Weems, who was brought on as executive director of transitional operations. The plan was for this team to lead through Zuccarelli's retirement, which was expected to occur within 3 years. Weiderman was also involved in preparing Township Assessor Cassandra Stahn for the 2025 elections. Stahn had been nominated 3 times during a Township Board meeting on March 4th to be the new supervisor, but each nomination failed, either due to direct opposition from trustees Washington and Jones or confusion over procedural issues. Unlike Jones, Whiten wasn't surprised by her termination. She recalled a meeting with Supervisor Henyard where Henyard made it clear that she just wasn't part of her team, didn't trust her, and was taking away her job duties. Whiten hopes she might be reassigned given her long tenure since 2002, but that didn't happen. She tried to advise Henyard on making the transition smoother, but her suggestions were not well received. Despite the turmoil, neither Henyard nor her senior advisor Keith Freeman responded to requests for comment from the Lansing Journal. But things really started to heat up when rumors spread that Tiffany was bullying other elected officials. Sources claimed she had a beef with Assessor Cassandra Stahn, even locking her out of her office in a fit of rage. When Elston finally got back in, she found confidential paperwork scattered in a common area where it could have been easily seen by dozens of people passing by each day. These documents contain sensitive information like social security numbers and medical details. After all her actions of firing employees, one after another, Tiffany Henyard faces a series of lawsuits filed in March by former Doughton and Thornton Township staff. These legal actions accuse her of a troubling pattern of unlawful firings and retaliation during her time as mayor and township supervisor. Sandra Tracy, a former human resources manager at Thornton Township, is suing Henyard. Thornton Township and Keith Freeman, who is both Henyard's assistant and the Dalton Village administrator. Tracy claims she was unfairly fired in September 2022. After taking medical leave for surgery, she started her leave in February 2022, just before H took office. When Tracy returned in June 2022, she was demoted to a clerk role, but was denied access to her workspace and eventually locked out of the office. Tracy worked from home or her car for months without pay, while also caring for her sick husband. The stress led to a heart attack in August 2022. Her lawsuit alleges retaliatory firing, emotional distress, and seeks back pay and damages. Karen Johnson, a former administrative assistant in Dalton's Public Works Department, also sued Henyard and Freeman on March 13. Johnson claims her constitutional rights were violated when she was fired in August 2022. She alleges Henyard forced village employees to work on her recall campaign. While on the clock after the recall vote, which Henyard later survived, Johnson says Henyard started retaliating against those who opposed her. Johnson was fired for allegedly using her work computer to look up news about Henyard, and she claims this was part of a broader pattern of retaliation against anyone who disagreed with Henyard. Samisha Williams, who ran for Dothan trustee and worked for the village, has 2 lawsuits in the federal case. Williams claims that after losing the recall vote, Henyard retaliated against many people, including withholding public records and directing village officials to disregard requests. Williams also alleges that Henyard instructed her to block permits unless residents donated to her campaign. Williams was fired in August 2022 via a letter delivered by a police officer, which lacked details about her termination. She is seeking back pay damages and attorney's fees. Additionally, Williams has a pending lawsuit in Cook County Circuit Court alleging defamation from Henyard during her trustee campaign, and it wasn't long before concerns about her spending habits and financial decisions started to surface among Dalton residents, community leaders, and members of the local government. Many began to question how public funds were being utilized under her administration, especially as reports of extravagant spending emerged. She's been slapped with not 1 but 2 subpoenas, each zeroing in on different aspects of her dealings. The first subpoena is a deep dive into Henyard's personal and business affairs, covering everything from personnel files to checks written to cash from her various ventures, including a restaurant she owns, a property management company, her political action committee, and a charity in her name. The second subpoena shifts the focus to township finances, demanding everything from budgets and payroll records to the rules around credit card purchases and expense reports. The tipping point came when financial records obtained through various public records requests and investigations revealed substantial and questionable expenses charged to the village's credit cards. These records show that Henyard and her allies had spent large sums of money on luxury, travel accommodations, and personal security, all on the taxpayer's dime. One of the most glaring examples of Henyard's alleged financial misconduct is her lavish spending on travel and accommodations. Records obtained through various investigations revealed that Henyard and her allies racked up over $122,000 in travel expenses charged to taxpayers within just 1 year. These expenses include first-class airfare, stays at luxurious hotels, and extravagant meals, all funded by the very people she was elected to serve. For instance, during a trip to Las Vegas, Henyard and her entourage reportedly spent at least $226,000, a staggering amount considering the physical challenges facing Dalton. This trip included stays at high-end hotels and dining at some of the most expensive restaurants in the city, all at the taxpayer's expense. Such expenditures have raised serious concerns about Henyard's priorities and whether she is more focused on personal luxury than the needs of her constituents. Henyard's spending habits extend beyond just the Las Vegas trip, and Annalise is of credit card records by WGN Investigates revealed that she had spent $99,000 on a stay at the Four Seasons in Atlanta and $133,000 at the Marriott Marquis in New York City. These figures are shocking, especially considering that Dothan is a village facing significant financial challenges. These expenditures have led many to question whether Henyard is more concerned with her comfort than with the financial well-being of her constituents. Critics argue that such lavish spending is entirely inappropriate for a public official, particularly one serving a community with limited resources. Another questionable financial decision made under Henyard's administration was the staggering salary paid to a village prosecutor over 2 years. This individual received $900,000, an amount that far exceeds what is typical for such a position. This has raised suspicions about whether this salary was justified, and if there were any ulterior motives behind such an exorbitant pay. Henyard has not provided a satisfactory explanation for this expense, leading to further speculation and mistrust among residents. Some believe that the prosecutor's salary may have been inflated as part of a quid pro quo arrangement or other forms of corruption. Henyard has also been accused of using public funds to favor certain businesses and individuals close to her. For example, a lawsuit alleged that Dalton officials improperly denied a business license to a barber shop owner, giving preferential treatment to other businesses with connections to Henyard. This type of favoritism undermines public trust and raises questions about the integrity of Henyard's administration. Additionally, there have been allegations that Henyard has hired friends and family members for government positions, often at inflated salaries. This has led to accusations of nepotism and further fueled the perception that Henyard is using her position to enrich herself and those close to her. Henyard's alleged financial misconduct has not gone unnoticed by federal authorities. The FBI launched an investigation into her administration, focusing on the misuse of public funds among other issues. This investigation, along with multiple lawsuits filed against Henyard, has put her in the legal spotlight, with many expecting criminal charges to follow. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, a former federal prosecutor, was brought in to lead a separate investigation into Henyard's conduct. Lightfoot's investigation is expected to scrutinize all aspects of Henyard's financial dealings, including her lavish spending, the $900,000 salary paid to the village prosecutor, and the alleged favoritism and nepotism within her administration. In addition to the misuse of funds for travel and luxury accommodations, Henyard has also been accused of using Dalton police officers for personal security, again at the taxpayer's expense. This practice has been criticized as an inappropriate use of public resources, especially given the strain on Alton's police force and the community's need for law enforcement services. Henyard's decision to allocate police resources for her personal security raises serious ethical questions and has led to further calls for accountability. The fact that these officers were taken away from their regular duties to serve Henyard's personal needs has been seen as a clear mistreatment of power, and the plot thickens just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Another bombshell drops after former Chicago Mayor Lori $5 million in the red. To make matters worse, credit card spending in the village has spun completely out of control, leaving everyone questioning how this could happen. This revelation came on the heels of spending practices, including taxpayer-funded billboards and lavish dinners, which have raised red flags among village trustees. And here's the kicker: just as this financial disaster comes to light, Mayor Henyard, who's already under fire for allegedly misusing taxpayer money, has vanished. She's nowhere to be found, dodging all requests for comments and missing from her office. The timing couldn't be more suspicious, raising even more eyebrows as what's really going on behind the scenes. Village employees remain tight-lipped about her whereabouts, leaving everyone wondering if she's hiding out as the pressure mounts. Dalton trustee Brittany Norwood spoke out earlier this year, frustrated that trustees were being kept in the dark about the village's finances. She revealed that the last time they received a bank statement was back in September, showing a $7 million debt. Now, with no updated bank statements, they're left guessing about the village's current financial state. Lightfoot's investigation also exposed out-of-control credit card spending, with receipts rarely provided for purchases. Shockingly, the report highlights a single day where $40,000 was spent on Amazon, with no clear accounting for where that money went. The misuse of funds didn't stop there. Questions are swirling about police overtime, with 2 officers earning six-figure sums in overtime alone, more than doubling their base salaries. Even Deputy Chief Louis Lacey, recently placed on administrative leave, pocketed $96,000 in overtime last fiscal year. Lightfoot didn't mince words, stating the village has been unable to pay all of its monthly expenditures with its available cash balance. Yet, in the wake of this damning report, none of the village's trustees have stepped forward to comment, leaving Dalton's residents to wonder just how deep this financial rabbit hole goes. But the real intrigue lies in what comes next. The subpoenas indicate that the feds are digging deep, seeking information that could expose far-reaching misconduct. Former FBI agent Ross Rice has pointed out the broad scope of these inquiries, suggesting that serious allegations are at play. As we watch this drama unfold, one thing is clear: the outcome of this investigation will have lasting effects on the village, its residents, and possibly the broader political landscape. The twists and turns in this story are far from over, and the final chapter has yet to be written. One fan even said this self-proclaimed super mayor thought the keys to the kingdom were solely hers to enjoy. However, she chose without giving simple thought towards the tax-paying citizens who filled those coffers. Jail her. What do you think? Will Mayor Tiffany Henyard's reign come crashing down, or will Louis Lacey remain loyal to her till the end? Share your thoughts in the comments below. While we wait for the next twist in this unfolding drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos for more content like this. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates and in-depth stories. Stay tuned.